Good day and welcome to the Author's Corner. And we are back. And today we actually have a person I know pretty well because he is a publisher as well. And not only with the Own It platform, but at this point, I publish with him and have done so about 5 years now. So, done a lot of great work together. And I say that to say that now he has a great work in the title of his book, My Bible, My Manhood. So let me introduce you to Reverend Dr. Darryl D. Sims. Dr. Darryl, how are you today?
Oh, I am fine. Thank you so much, Dr. Paula. I'm glad to be here with you.
Good, good. Yes. So, like I just told our audience, I know the great work you do. I get to publish with quite a few people. That's the part of doing this that I really love. We get to write, we get to edit, we get to help other people become authors. And that's, of course, what the Author's Corner is about. So, talk to us about who you are. Talk to us about your newest book because you've been writing and editing and publishing for a while now. So, just tell us, who are you?
Well, as you mentioned in the introduction, I'm Darryl D. Sims.
Yeah.
I like to tell everybody I'm the son of Vivian Brown. She's from Choctaw, Mississippi, and I share all that to let people know just what type of stock is inside of me. Because if you come out of Choctaw, Mississippi, and make it to Chicago, and, you're pretty tough. So my first two books was published with a mainline company. They did a great job. We sold a lot of companies, and honestly, I just didn't like how they did us with the royalties. And
Mm.
then there was a controversy with Jeremiah Wright. I wanted to put him in a third book, and they didn't want to do that because of the controversy with President Barack Obama.
Right.
And longer story short, Jeremiah Wright encouraged me to open up my own company in 2008, which we did, MMGI Books. We published probably 40, 50 books in a
Mm.
matter of 5 years. And then I started a PhD program. So I kind of went dormant for a little while. And then we started a Sims Media Group, DBA Sims Publishing Group. And now we're up to probably about 80 books in which we published already.
Mm-hmm.
All the books we publish, we don't put our names on them. Sometimes people contract me just to do their work, and
Right.
I'll give them all their material and everything and let them go do what they're going to do. So we do a la carte pieces as well as from conception to completion work as well. But the
Mm-hmm.
latest book we finished, I'm very proud of, My Bible, My Manhood. It was a work we started some time ago, and it's you will learn for those who are budding authors, or if you've already authored a book and start a second, third, or fourth, when sometime life comes at you,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put it on the back burner for a while. But it's something about God's timing with certain projects in your life, personally as well as professionally. And My Bible, My Manhood is a collection of 10 essays, and we call them essays because there's no better word to describe them, but they're really not essays. They are a hybrid. There's nothing like it out here. That's why I have to do a volume two right away. They're a combination. They feel like sermons, but they're not sermons.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like Bible study material, and it lean towards that more so. And that once a pastor sees it, once an individual sees it, then they can see why it's good for group study, but we
Right.
designed it in such a way where some men, they don't like the group setting, they like to study alone, so it can actually be used by an individual. And there are some reflective questions at the back of each single selection. And but at the same time, the synergy from a group will help you really maximize and open up if you're willing to be vulnerable with the question we raised in there. The topics covered, it goes from my Bible, my mistake, my Bible, my marriage, my Bible, my mate, my Bible, my mantle. I just did a Facebook Live with that author, Christopher Jones, out of Hillside Baptist Church, and First Baptist Church Hillside, and he did a phenomenal job on a Facebook Live, but it morphed into other conversations dealing
Right.
with manhood. If you get 100 men in a room and you ask them what is manhood, you'll probably get at least 80 different definitions. Um, but the one thing that will be pretty much consistent is that somewhere or another manhood has been described as responsibility.
Okay.
That may be true, but you have to be careful because now with just responsibility being dominant quality for your manhood, now all of a sudden, if you're not in position to handle your responsibilities by factors that have nothing to do with you, now all of a sudden you question your manhood, and that's when that toxicity come in terms of toxic masculinity, and that's when you have to be careful. That's when the abusive start words will have it. That's a whole other topic, but you
Mm,
have to be careful how you define manhood. And basically, for me, manhood is just your character. Can I simply rely on you to do certain things and not just do certain things, but be a certain way?
right.
Be a certain way. That's what it's all about. So the book addresses issues that are germane to the walk of not just African American men, although primarily that's what the book is written for, but just men in general. I mean, what are we dealing with every single day? And these things we don't like talking about sometimes because again, we've been forced to believe a certain um, position on manhood is you don't whine, you don't cry, you don't complain, you just handle it. Uh,
Right.
Although Jesus himself could not handle anything because of his human state, yet he relied on others. And I don't know why we as men don't want to take time to rely on others. You're not less of a man because you're seeking the assistance of someone else.
Definitely. You said one of the best words in the world. It's about character. And I know one of the conversations we had also was about not only how men can, of course, work with this book and get into this book, but the women that touch their lives as well, that if they don't have connection with it, what are you finding with the people that can actually refer to someone else, again, like wives or significant others, or even sons and fathers, because there's a healing in the words of a lot of the stories in the book. So,
Well, it's interesting you would bring up this point because I was at Hampton Ministers Conference. I was selling the books there, of course, and I had probably 60 men buy the book,
mm-hmm,
but 15 women purchased the book.
that's right.
And some of them, I'm giggling somewhat because they said, well, I'm going to buy the book, I'm going to read it, and then give it to my husband.
Right.
One sister said, I'm going to buy the book and tell him he can't get in his bed till he read a chapter. I'm like, oh, okay, that's okay. Don't weaponize the book, but you know,
Right. That's important. We
but,
have men and women here, so we want everybody to know how the book works.
yeah. Well, I actually said, can you compromise with the brother? Can you let him get into bed with you and tell him to read to you? And so, off the top of my head, I need to coin this. I was like, put the sexy back into your reading. And then she went on to say, "Oh, it's very attractive when I see a man read." So I was like, "Okay, man, I don't want to go too far to the left of this conversation, but nevertheless, she did purchase the book, and then she went so far as to bring her husband back to meet me, and
Great.
he and I, shook hands, what have you, and had a joke or two. But it's a beautiful book.
Yeah.
Women will definitely benefit from reading the book because men, okay, a couple of guys gonna get upset at me now, but it's all right. Men tend to match the bar that is set for them.
Okay.
Uh, it's not that we're not capable of exceeding the expectations. Oftentimes we do. So let me give a brother's kudos for those that actually exceed the bar.
Mm-hmm.
But in the time, we don't have time today, but with all the trauma, stress, strain, what have you, men tend to set the bar that is set for them. So
Mm-hmm.
now, if you are a young lady or as a woman, when you talk about reading together, whether it be my Bible, my manhood, or any book that you think you want your man to read,
Mm-hmm.
you read it with him. Trust me, this is what's going to happen. He's going to fuss a little bit, then he's going to start the project, and then he's going to thank you for the project,
Yeah.
and then he's going to take credit for the project. Because
That's
once you get him started on it, and he sees the joy and the benefits of it, oh yeah, he's going to take credit for it after that. Yeah. So
Definitely.
read with your man, and you'll have a man that you probably desire of your heart.
So that's important. You have 10 chapters, and I just like the way you lay this out. So I'm going to be purposeful. I'm going to read what I see.
Okay.
It's the name of the book is My Bible, My Manhood. But in each chapter, because everyone that's listening, male or female, this covers something in who you are. My
Mm-hmm.
Bible and my mistake, my Bible and my mate, my Bible and my mantle, my Bible and my mentor, my favorite word, my Bible and my marriage, my Bible and my metamorphosis, my Bible and my ministry, my Bible and my morality, my Bible and my maturity, and my Bible and my mind. That speaks volumes.
Well, yeah, I mean, a few things there. First, I need everyone who's listening to understand there are 10 different writers, 10 different
Right.
contributors.
Yes.
And these contributors were selected, I want to believe, by me, but by way of me listening to the voice of God.
That's right.
There were certain men who just displayed those salient characteristics as a man that I know personally. Every single man in the book is a personal associate of mine on some level or another. Most of them professional, but like for instance, Gary Williams out of Jacksonville, Florida. The way I've seen this man love his wife, the
Mm-hmm.
way I've seen him care for his wife, the way I've heard him speak of his wife,
Mm-hmm.
he's so defensive, he's so loving, he's so kind that he had to write my Bible and my mate.
Right.
Christopher Michael Jones, he had to write my Bible and my mantle for
Right.
a couple of reasons. One, his ability to walk away from a lifestyle of really the rich and famous for
Mm.
real,
Right.
and submit himself to Bishop Donald Hilliard as a servant. He
Mm-hmm.
understood that the spirit that was on Bishop Donald Hilliard would eventually fall onto him by way of servicing. So my Bible, my mantle had to come from him.
Right.
And then you have my Bible, my mind, the last chapter in the book by
Mm-hmm.
Darryl Lamont Thomas, one of the most brilliant people, period.
Mm-hmm.
Not brilliant black pastor, not brilliant black man, one of the most brilliant people, period. He had to write my Bible, my mind, and he took, I believe, the book to a whole nother level. And that's why he's last in the book, because
Mm-hmm.
of all you readers out there, we as authors, we know that you
Right.
all look at the first chapter and the last chapter of
Exactly.
the book to determine whether or not you're gonna buy the book. I'm gonna confess, I wanted to have Christopher Michael Jones as the first one. I really wanted him first because I wanted my best, my two best first and last. And my editor, bless her soul, she said, Darryl, because of the topic that you're writing on, and because you have
Right.
poured out so much of your personal journey,
That's right.
you have to go first. All my other anthologies, I'm always last.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this may be the new thing for me going forward as an author, as a publisher. Whenever I do an anthology, I may lead it off. But my Bible, my mistake. It's revealing. Some said you don't think you told too much, but let me just say this for a brother who may hear this.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually for men and women, but to the brothers right now. Writing is therapeutic.
It is.
I would even suggest to you to write something down that you don't want the whole world to know. You don't want anyone in the world to know. Write it down, read it to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
scratch it out, and then shred it. And when you shred that thing, you let that thing go. You let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I was carrying around a burden for a long time. It was my pastor, Dr. John Jenkins, First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. He
Mm-hmm.
said, Darryl, you've been carrying this around too long now.
That's
You
it.
have to figure out a way to just get it out your system. He said, then he, he looked up at me and said, hey, you're a publisher. Write about it. So he said it jokingly, but I think he also said it in prophetic fashion. And so I wrote about my stuff. And now, honestly, I feel that much better because you have to move on. That's
Right.
just a little side note. So forgive me if I went out of bounds, but when I
Mm,
get a chance to talk to the brothers, um, let it go, bro. Let it go.
definitely. Now we're talking about maybe, a couple other people, but one thing that I know is this needs to go to bigger audiences. And I say that to say we're talking about manhood and healing. We have brothers in prison, and I'm not just talking about, of course, black men, but we have people in prison. We have people that are just struggling. So just being able to, as you talked about the layout of how you did each chapter, each man was very specific to tell his story, talk about the consequence, talk about the challenge. And of course, I'm going through um, talking about the crisis, the covenant, and the conclusion. And then with that, that's the healing. So we're talking about development, who you are as a man, you are as a person, that journey that you went on, and that journey you're trying to bring other men to. Who do you want to speak to when you're talking about how can this help beyond maybe a small group of people, but going to larger ears? And I'm using it that way,
Yeah.
larger ears.
Well, you have a few things here.
Mhm.
Quick, very, very quick story. I moved to Washington, D.C. to attend Howard Law School,
Right,
and I
right.
did get accepted into law school.
Hmm.
And upon acceptance into law school, in my spirit, God says, you about to waste 3 years of your life. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
And this is all in my mind, my spirit, what have you. He said, I remember you saying, Darryl, you want your hands to touch 100,000 black men. And
Amen.
you said in one of your prayers, because God will remember your prayers. And you said in one of your prayers, you want to help black men when they come out of prison. And
Mm.
God says that's not good thinking.
Mm.
Do something to prevent them from going into prison. I was
Amen.
like, what can I do? He said, well, go back to your prayer about touching 100,000 black men. I have something that if you touch one man and die, you still could touch 100,000. Like
Mm.
Sarah, I giggled. I'm like, what are you talking about? You crazy. You tripping, God. Come on. I'm God. He said, my son. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Lord, Ph.D. in sinology. I'm not trying to play with you now.
Wow.
No, no, no. And that really is my call story. And so
Mm.
I shared that to share this. This
Mhm.
book is about not just developing those who are Christians, it's
Mhm.
also about helping people see that Christianity may come with a struggle, but it
Mhm.
also comes with some blessings. And
Mhm.
it's about helping people get back on track,
Mhm.
as well as staying on track, as well as preventing going off the track. So it
Mhm.
covers all three spheres, right? And so now to answer your question in a more succinct fashion, it'd be good for those who are caretakers of men on all levels, whether it be prisons, whether it be chaplains who deal with those that are going through crisis, whether it be institutions, whether institutions such as schools, Christian schools, such as definitely churches.
Mhm.
Uh, Three other authors have made it where this is the book their men are going
Mhm.
to use for their men's ministry. And so a good friend of mine, I hate to just name drop like this, but a good friend of mine, Anthony Bennett,
Mhm.
out of Connecticut, said, hey, you know, we know you know Jamal, we know you know Clay, and these are, I'm calling first names of preachers.
Mhm.
And he said, look, it's the churches with the 100 members. The churches with the 200 members need this book. And then he told me something else. He says, female pastors
Mhm.
need this book, not because of their inability to connect with men, but
Right.
it's just an additional resource. That's all it is. It's just an additional resource. So, male pastors have difficulty dealing with men. So Male pastors need this book. I mean, this book is much needed because men need to know. Watch this, it's gonna mess you up. Men need to know it's okay to be human. It's okay. It's okay to be normal. It's okay to fail. It's not. We all know it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. So
Right.
it's okay to be human, and that's what brothers need to know. So I think everybody could utilize this book
Mhm.
in their respective domains, be it church, be it hospitals, be it jails, be it schools.
That's important. I'm glad you said that when you said it helps people connect because as leaders, and that's what pastors, preachers, of course, tend to be,
Mhm.
you're called, but do you know how to lead? That's a whole different thing. You get a title, but what do you do now with those that expect you to know and have all the answers?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, you give someone a resource, you not only tell them a story, and that's so important when you think about the fact that Christ very specifically told things in parables because he was trying to teach and he was trying to have other people learn and he was having people develop. And that's what you're talking about doing, showing them a way that may not be something they can hear immediately. But if they have a resource like your book, My Bible, My Manhood, then they can go ahead and step in and find out who they are and think and reflect and maybe have some of those questions answered that, like you said, they may not be able to do one on one with someone in the comfort of maybe their own home is where they need to be able to use this. So the uncomfort of a jail cell as well. Um, and we're just, we're being very specific, and they're both ends of the spectrum, but they're really specific because again, that's part of a journey is development, and you develop, of course, on that journey. So that's really important. What are you gonna do next when it comes to um, speaking and teaching about next steps? You said you're already working on volume 2, so that's good, of course. What do you want to do next with that? And how can people, of course, reach out to you as well? The best way to
Well,
reach out to you.
I have a few projects coming up, and unfortunately, sometimes you discuss your projects and people hear the projects, right? They'll
Mm,
go somewhere and have a healthy steak dinner or two pork chops, and they'll go to sleep and they'll wake up and they'll believe that Jesus gave that same idea to them.
all
And,
right.
you have a book looking just like yours, which is fine.
All right.
Wherever the anointing is, that's where it's going to be. So I don't discuss my titles in advance,
That's
but
right.
I will say this much: we're doing a woman's version of this book because my friend, I'm giggling. I hear so many different stories. My friend Earl Payton down in Texas, his wife was actually reading the book. He bought it from Hampton,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Where's the women's version?" And so I said to him, I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna take that as a word from the Lord to do a women's version of this book." And we all know, no disrespect to the brothers, don't be offended. We all know when women get involved in something, it tends to work out quite well. Quite well.
Right.
There are a lot of brothers who are reading, but women, they read by far. 85% of all books are purchased by women. That's just the
Strong.
truth. It is. So I probably need to take a page from T.D. Jakes and write a couple of books for women too. No disrespect to him. I know him personally. But next steps are teaching classes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, God has been so good that I'll be teaching workshops for free. If you want me to come to your church by way of uh, Zoom or Streamline, what have you, if you want me to do a virtual workshop for you, I'll do
Mm-hmm.
it for free for your men the first time. And then if you want me to come back, we'll talk about that. And
Right.
I can be reached, of course, at info at Sims, SIMS, publishinggroup.com. But I love talking to the brothers. I love
Mm-hmm.
just taking a text and just having some fun with it. Um, um, the young rich ruler, I tell people and I try to help them. Like, listen, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to track people down. He went to Jesus. Jesus told him this is what you have to do. He said, I'm not going to do it. You don't see anywhere in the Bible where Jesus is following behind this guy,
Right.
trying to make him do what he already instructed him to do. So sometimes you just have to just walk away from some things and some people. But we're going to keep publishing. It's not just a craft of mine. It's part
Mm-hmm.
of my call. And that's why Freddie Haynes gave me a name. I didn't like it at first, but it has grown on me. He said, yeah, Sims, you are modern day Paul. I'm like, what? Paul could teach, but he couldn't preach. I'm like, no, I don't want to be Paul. And then God put in my spirit, you may want to be Paul because just to have fun with your audience right here. Um, 48 out of 52 Sundays, the preacher is going to quote something Paul said.
Yes, they
Although
are.
Barnabas was a better preacher, don't nobody talk about Barnabas. They talk
Mm-hmm.
about Paul. Why? Because Paul took time to write. And now here's a shameless plug for all those who are procrastinating with your writing.
Yes.
One of the pathways to live beyond your years is to leave something here in writing.
I
Leave
know.
something here in writing. And you
Mm-hmm.
could be going on to glory, but somebody still could read your story.
Isn't that the whole essence of everything we've ever learned as human beings? We got all our knowledge and hopefully most of our wisdom from the things that we read and written. And that's
But and
important.
also experience, the greatest wisdom will come from your experience. Because I know a whole lot of people, not to discount anything you said, I know a whole lot of people
Mm-hmm.
who can quote the Bible,
Very well.
but they don't know God. They have no patience. They have
Yep.
no kindness. They don't forgive. So you can know every scripture in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and still not know God.
Well, I think you just said it. And you've also segued into the fact that you'll be back when we get into the minister's corner as well as the preacher's corner because that's your call. That's your conversation. And you already know, I know how much you've helped women very specifically in the writings that they've done, the authoring that we've done. So that was why it was really important that now that you've taken something to another level with the men, we wanted to make sure you were here. You're partnering with us on a lot of different things as well. So it's been really wonderful to be able to just talk with you, break the book down. And now you have a copy, of course. I have a copy because I needed it for reference. So show everybody what the book looks like. Or can I show it? Is that all right?
Yeah, I'd like for you to show it.
Okay, there we go. So it's a little backwards when I'm thinking,
It's
but
fine.
okay,
My Bible
my,
manual. Yeah.
I'm in. And just look at that there.
Mhm.
Written by 10 progressive faith development leaders. Darryl D. Sims, Ph.D. Well, Reverend Darryl, thank you so much
Mhm.
for taking this time with us. Thank you for inspiring the authors. And like you said, write it down, or even as the word says, write the vision, make it plain, and you leave something behind. So until the next time, you have been with us here on the Author's Corner on It Magazine's platform, and we just wish you love, peace, and blessings.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Paula. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you as well.